That brings us over to the X Division, where the main build for the month was around Ultimate X, in which Petey Williams would defend the X Division title against 2 unspecified opponents, and Dusty was like, I booked a bunch of matches, daddy, and I'm going to be keeping close eye on all these people in their Ultimate X qualifiers, which aren't qualifiers, except the one at the end, which is a qualifier.
I did not pay attention to like any of the setup to this. I was just like, look at the bunch of cool X Division matches.
Yeah, I think AJ has like sneakily one of his best months because he's just having 5-minute TV matches against good wrestlers.
Yeah, that helps.
December 10, Christopher Daniels defeats Mikey Batts.
Mikey Batts comes out to Chris Sabin's music,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's very funny because Chris Sabin's music goes, Hail Sabin. Hail Sabin. So it's not even like subtle.
Mike Tenay does explain, Liam, if you're listening on commentary, that this match was meant to be Sabin versus Daniels, but Sabin injured his back at the pay-per-view. Now you might ask me, a fair question, why does that mean they play Chris Sabin's music still? There's not a good answer to that question, but
They just thought they looked similar enough.
nobody will notice if we send Mikey Batts out there instead.
They should have done that with some of the Austin Aries moments. Been like, all right, Mikey Batts, go out there.
I don't think Bats had a particularly good showing here. It is an interesting change, I think, across the board on Impact this month, where most of the matches are actually matches.
Yes, there's it's not a lot of squashes, except for one really good one.
Yeah, I think a lot of matches that maybe should be squashes. Like, I think this match goes about 5 minutes, and it probably should go about 2. But I on the whole, appreciate the fact that most of the matches on this show now are feel like actual real wrestling matches, as opposed to we just want to get these guys in and out to do a story thing or whatever.
Well, let me throw a little logic at you.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Daniels did just have a crazy cage match.
That's true. And I appreciate how, like, the first thing you see after the pay-per-view, you know, there is a little Mike Tenay plug in the pay-per-view. They push that pay-per-view so hard, by the way, on the show. They're like, it's the best pay-per-view in history. Don West was like, I'm arranging with my friends in JB to have a replay viewing party with my friends. They showed a bunch of packages.
I want to go to the JB and Don West replay viewing party.
They should have done that. I'd imagine, like, a bunch of fans would have enjoyed that.
Yeah, he could have done that. They should do Mystery Science Theater. Wait, no, we do that. Don't do that.
But I do appreciate that the very first thing you see after they lose the losing team disbands match is Daniels coming out by himself.
Yeah, I thought that was some grade A piece of booking. And I love that he looks completely battle-worn.
Yeah, and all of them do. Same with AMW. They have a match against Cesaro.
Oh, AMW look fucked up.
Yeah, they're limping. They're bandaged up. They really do sell that cage match.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought Mikey Batts looked out of his depth here and with Daniels. Fine match. Daniels wins with the Angel's Wings and then drops with the last rites for good measure after the match.
Yeah, I don't know. Daniels has a bit of a weird month, but I thought this was fine.
Yeah, even that little touch that, like, it was the same with Skipper in a tag match we'll talk about in a sec. But both Daniels and Skipper showed, like, real visible frustration and anger over the fact that they were broken up. Like, here, he hit him with the last rites after the match. In the 6-man tag that Skipper's in, he, like, starts wailing on people really angrily and out of control. Again, just selling the idea that these two guys are real mad that their tag team broke up.
They didn't just come out and be like, hey, let's go singles career, woo!
Yeah, they're not just moving on.
Yeah. Just a reminder, they were going to break up at AMW.
Like 7 different times they thought about it, so...
Yeah. Fucking insane, stupid shit.
December 24th, Impact, next X Division segment, it's AJ Styles versus Johnny Devine.
I like Johnny Devine. I really like Johnny Devine.
He hit a real cool float over reverse DDT in the corner where he went to do the standard float over and he caught him with a reverse DDT on the way down. I was like, that's a real cool move.
I really like Johnny Devine, man. I think he's good. I like his big I'm stabbed in the tummy scar.
Yeah.
I think he's a lot of fun. He's a little like madman too, which I appreciate. I like his touches I like his vibe in the Team Canada promo as well.
This is where they announced that Dusty is watching these X Division matches extra close to determine who will be in the Ultimate X match against Petey Williams. I don't love when they do builds to Ultimate X like that, where they just like, we're doing an Ultimate X for the sake of it. Who's going to be in it? I prefer it to be like, when Ultimate X is announced, it feels like a special moment, but at least we're getting some good X Division matches on TV.
I think that's always been the bane of the X Division, when it's just, here's some people, throw them in a multi-man for the title at the pay-per-view. That's always a sign that things aren't good.
They're not thinking about it this month.
Yeah.
Styles hit his springboard reverse DDT like halfway across the ring.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so Styles floats over out of Arana into the Styles Clash for the win. Styles beats Johnny Devine.
Yeah, I'm a Johnny Devine guy. Move over Eric Watts. There's a new guy in town, and his name is A1. That was a good callback. See, I'm pretty good about it. I'm good with this stuff.
December 31 Impact opened with a 6-man tag. It was AJ Styles, Sonny Siaki, and Johnny B. Bad versus the Naturals, Neelix Skipper. If you're like, real weird that they put AJ in this match, it was meant to be Jeff Hardy, but this was the one they sent him home from.
Okay. I did think this was a weird team all round.
The team of AJ Styles, Sonny Siaki, and Johnny B. Bad.
I'm really not happy about Sonny Siaki and Johnny B. Bad.
I think they had a pre-show match on the pay-per-view, and I believe, Liam, that's the end of Johnny B. Bad.
Good. I did not enjoy his presence on this show.
Why not? What do you have against Mark Miro?
I don't know, man. It's just you know what he is? He kind of just represents this idea that like we need all these like old school guys to be in here, and they need to be like, because they're the ones that are like relevant and whatever. And I just don't like it when there's AJ Styles in literally the same match as him.
You really resented this man's undercard tag team appearances.
I really did not enjoy it. I guess in a John B. Bad defense too, they'd start teaming him with Sonny Siaki, so they really were like, let's kill any interest Liam can have in this.
Yeah, this guy is a nerd. We know it, and we're going to book him like it.
Yeah, I did not care to see him wrestle, I'm afraid.
So there is some storytelling this month. There is a match between Johnny B. Bad and Sonny Siaki and the Naturals, where Johnny B. Bad goes for the top rope Hurricane Rana, which is his finish. One of the Naturals grabs the other of the Naturals. B. Bad crashes and burns. He be bad at Hurricane Ranas, apparently, and allowing the Naturals to pick up the win. So the finish of this match is the Naturals try the same thing again, but Siaki stops them, but this time Johnny B. Bad does get the win.
Wow.
These are the long-term stories you get with Johnny B. Bad's TNA run.
Poor the Naturals.
They're real geeks at the moment, aren't they?
Like, they had a real solid run as, like heel dipshit champions for a while there. And now they're, like, they barely show up.
And, like, they do get their win back, but it's a dark match on the pay-per-view, so...
Yeah. I bet that match was pretty, like, okay with that hot crowd. That pre-show crowd.
Styles had a dive here on Skipper where it's like, dude, you're in a 6-man tag team match with Johnny B. Bad. Why are you killing yourself on the guardrail with this flip dive?
Because he's AJ fucking Styles.
Do the crossbody. Everyone knows it's like the slingshot crossbody. Do the house show dive.
Yeah, there's a reason they call it the house show dive.
And yeah, I did like it. This match was where Skipper was like really hyper aggressive. He was wailing on, I think it was Siaki at one stage, wailing on Styles, frustrated with his tag team partners, which is a little like callback to the fact that like obviously Triple X and the Naturals feuded, so they don't get along in the first place. I did really like that they sold the idea that Skipper and Daniels are really frustrated with the fact that their tag team is broken up.
Yeah, it's a very good touch.
Christopher Daniels faced Michael Shane on this show.
I do not remember a lot about that. I do remember that like there was a lot of bullshit in it, and I feel like that would have worked well if Michael Shane won, because it would sell that Daniels is out here by himself and he's not used to that. So he has no one watching his back and like covering for him with all this interference, but he just kind of overcomes it anyway and wins.
He just wins, yeah. So Kaz grabs Daniels' leg at ringside and the referee ejected him. Daniels went for an O'Connor roll. Tracy distracted the ref. Shane reversed the pin, but Tracy still had the ref distracted while Shane had the pin. Shane reprimanded Tracy, knocked the hat off her head, but then Daniels rolled up Shane for the win.
Why wasn't Daniels in the Ultimate X?
Because they had put Sabin in the Ultimate X. To be fair, if you were like, would the match have been better with Daniels or Sabin? I think ultimately the match would have been better with Sabin.
But like, it felt like he got way more focused than Sabin did.
Yeah,
this month.
It felt like the story this month was building to Daniels in that Ultimate X match, and they seemed to just go with Sabin. Which, to be fair, it turned out pretty well. But you're right that the booking direction very much seemed like Daniels, and then they pivoted.
Odd. I'm guessing like maybe they were building him up in case Sabin wasn't healthy by the end of the month.
And they are building to Daniels next month, so maybe that's they're playing the longer game, but I don't know.
It was a little out of place.
The weird thing here as well, like the finish, Shane being like mad at Tracy, you know, getting into it with Tracy, and that's never followed up on either. So
well, that's just kind of what you could excuse that as that just being Michael Shane's character.
That's true. He does snap on people.
He snaps on Tracy in particular. Then they were good again for a second.
So this January 7th Impact opened with a real good little match between AJ Styles and Chris Candido.
I thought Candido looked awesome.
Oh, he was
like a wily like vet mean guy technical wrestler who was just kind of like bullying AJ around. I thought that was really good.
He was so good. There was like a bunch of little things he did in this match. Like Styles hit the house show dive, and he hit like he did like the most insane get tangled in the guardrail sell of it you could possibly do.
It was so over the top.
Yeah, and like there was a moment where he hit like a power slam on AJ, and he was the next spot was like go up the top, be thrown off top with like the press slam off the top. But Candido like hit the power slam, and then organically allowed himself to fall backwards so that his momentum carried himself outside of the ring so that he could get up top and continue the spot. Or like instead of like hitting the move and then climbing to the top rope, he created that little layer, that little extra touch that made sense for why his next move would be a top rope move in a way that like that's like the little touches that separate good wrestlers from great wrestlers. That little extra layer, that little extra level of detail of here's why I'm doing the thing I'm doing the moment I'm doing the thing I'm doing, that a lot of wrestlers don't think about. It's just like, let's just do the cool move, and I'm okay with that. But the wrestlers who do have that extra little touch, that extra little bit to be like, this is why this makes sense, those are the better wrestlers.
Yeah, they put that little extra layer on top of things, which is funny because I feel like the Bucks are like that, but they get the reputation of the former. But I think they are definitely a crew that are like, we will have that extra layer of how things are explained and how our crazy shit that shouldn't make sense does actually make sense.
Yeah, and this is Candido's TNA debut, of course, and he feels like he's working for a job.
Yeah.
They announced at this stage that Styles has one of the spots in Ultimate X, and Daniels will face Sabin next week for the other spot. And Daniels was on commentary. A lot of Daniels on commentary this month. I thought it was pretty good.
They're testing him out.
Yeah, Styles wins with the Styles Clash. Real good. It's a 5-minute TV match. There's always a ceiling on 5-minute TV matches. But the real good little 5-minute TV match, in the same way Styles had a real good little 5-minute TV match against Johnny Devine as well.
He's on a fun little TV run here.
Yeah, Daniels remains on commentary for the next match, which is PD Williams versus Andy Douglas. You gave this like 2.75. You like this match. I say 2.75. I give it 2.25, which is a whole huge difference.
Yeah, like, by regular wrestling standards, it was alright.
Please tell me why this was a normal, decent, okay, forgettable mid-card match as opposed to a below average mid-card match according to my rating.
Petey Williams is putting it together.
I did appreciate they did like the classic, a thing I always enjoy in heel versus heel matches, where they both try to cheat.
Yeah, I was just about to mention it. I really liked the heel versus heel opening stuff too.
Where they do like the double eye poke spot. They're all trying to grab tights. There's a real good Kid Cash Austin Aries version of that in 2011, which you can look forward to in a very long time. But they like do a whole match built around that where they're trying to out cheat each other, and I love that stuff with heels.
Yeah, they should do that stuff more often. That's like when you watch in the Best of the Super Juniors, often you'll get like a random Suzuki Gun match, and it'll be like Taichi versus Taka or something, and they just cheat their way through the whole thing.
So D'Amore pulled Stevens off the apron, which allowed PD to roll up Andy Douglas and grab the tights for the win.
The better heel.
Daniels was also still on commentary for the next match, Bobby Roode versus Chris Sabin.
I don't remember much about this one.
It's a weird choice that, as we were talking about, like these shows were filmed back to back, the 7th and 14th episodes of Impact. So like they went into these shows with 2 episodes of Impact planned. So they pinned Sabin here, fair enough with interference from Daniels, to set up Sabin then beating Daniels the following week to qualify for Ultimate X. I'm like, just don't have Sabin lose.
Yeah.
You're allowed not have Sabin lose. TNA informs us Primetime and Jeff Hardy will be at Final Resolution, which is my favorite thing they do. It's like the wrestlers we have booked and are under contract will be at the pay-per-view. We're not going to tell you what they're doing, but they'll be there.
Because we don't know.
Yeah, that realistically is the reason that they're announcing it that way. It's like, well, Jeff was going to face Abyss, but he'll be there, we swear. They do announce Daniels will face Sabin next week to earn the 3rd spot in Ultimate X. Sabin was on a roll, he was running a wall, but then Daniels tried to use a chair. Sabin stomped the chair onto Daniels' fingers, and in a real cool spot, Rude Northern Lariated Sabin, and then Sabin fell face first onto the chair for the win, so Rude beat Sabin. They repeated in the AMW Team Canada match as well, but I think the setup for that was real nifty, that the Northern Lariated him, and he just fell face first on the chair that was lying on the mat.
Much like Petey, Bobby Roode is starting to put it together too.
Yeah, these Team Canada boys, and we'll talk about Eric Young as well in the pay-per-view.
Oh, there's a bunch of Eric Young stuff on the pay-per-view.
And then main event of the January 14th go-home show, it was Chris Sabin versus Christopher Daniels. Winner gets an Ultimate X. Special 15-minute time limit for this match too, but for once they actually used most of the time.
Ooh.
This went like 12.
Ooh.
Also, they had a really good little TV match.
Ooh.
It might well be the best match in the history of the Impact television show so far.
Ooh.
There's a couple matches in the first show that give it a run for its money, and then maybe the Jarrett and Monty match, but I don't think, like, you gave this 3.5 stars. I gave it 3.25.
By the time they got there, it had felt like one of those Dynamite matches that you're like, oh, man, that was really good. You know, like, it stood out on a show. Like, that. This would have stood out on a show that was, like, all good stuff, too. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just good for the promotion that it's in.
Yeah, so Daniels went for the Angel's Wings. And a fun thing on commentary the week before where Mike Tenay was talking about how, Chris Sabin has a counter for the Canadian Destroyer. And then Daniels was like, let's see, does he have a counter for the Angel's Wings? Does he have the counter for the Last Rites? And he beat Daniels here by reversing the Angel's Wings into a cradle. So tying that little commentary line into the finish of this match was a real smart little touch, I thought.
I also like that Sabin is the guy who, like, learns how to beat other people's shit.
Yeah, he counters finishes. That's Sabin's gimmick at the moment.
Yeah.
So the Ultimate X match at the pay-per-view will be Petey Williams versus AJ Styles versus Chris Sabin.
Yeah, I bet that'll be alright.
Styles also has a squash match against Cassidy Riley on the show. Also, just a lovely little TV match.
This AJ guy.
You could just put him in there with anybody and give him 5 minutes and you'll be like, yeah, I enjoyed this. It's good pro wrestling. So that brings us to Final Resolution, January 16th, live on pay-per-view. AJ Styles defeats Chris Sabin and Petey Williams to become the new X Division champion in an Ultimate X match.
Well, I mean, this is real good, isn't it?
It is, I think, still to this day, the best Ultimate X match.
Ooh. It's definitely the best one so far.
Oh, far and away. I don't think any of the others come close to touching this one. Crowd are going absolutely bonkers for absolutely everything. They do just a bunch of wild shit. The peak of which is AJ's hanging from the cables, just climbing along. Chris Sabin springboards from the apron, drop kicks AJ. AJ does a full 360 flip in the air and lands on his back, looking like he nearly died. Then he does the great sit up, glassy-eyed stare into the distance before he falls back down. And it's one of the craziest moves you will ever see in Ultimate X.
This is peak AJ being a crazy Gumby man who can't get hurt.
Yeah, it's I mentioned this on the watch along, but I cannot even think about how you think about doing that. Most people will say, all right, I'll do a drop kick and you'll fall off the cables and you'll just take a regular bump. You'll let go of the cables and you'll fall to the mat. That is how most normal people, most rational people would do that spot. And AJ's like, what if you drop kick me and I pendulum backwards so that I can do a full flip in the air and not land on my head somehow and make it look like the most insane move in the history of wrestling, even though it's just a dropkick off the cables. And that's apparently AJ's mentality these days, to make absolutely everything look like the most insane move it can possibly look like.
Yeah, we were talking about it during the watch along, that it feels like the only other guy who was in that kind of mindset was very early Will Ospreay, because he was in that same of every tiny thing is I'm going to make it look as sick and as insane as possible. And it made you think of the comparisons between those two are so apt, because they both had this growing up phase, you know what I mean, where they become these fully fleshed out pro wrestlers, and they also have these very early stages where they're we are just crazy athletic people who can do things with our bodies that shouldn't be able to be done by anyone. And it also makes you very sad, I think, that we never got a Will Ospreay Ultimate X match at the time, because I feel he's the only other guy like AJ who can really imagine him in that environment. AJ in this environment is different from even someone super athletic like a Chris Sabin or a Petey Williams. Having AJ in this environment is so over the top and brings a whole new level of danger and athleticism that you just don't see from people. And I think Ospreay's the only other person who could have even encapsulated that to a fraction of the extent.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
We got a Will Ospreay King of the Mountain, but we didn't get a Will Ospreay Ultimate X.
I do remember the King of the Mountain.
Will getting King of the Mountain. Never mind Ultimate X.
Maybe one day. Who knows? I don't know if I want Will Ospreay in Ultimate X now.
I still think he'd do some wild shit.
Yeah, but it has to be 2013 Will Ospreay who just knows flips.
Mm,
That's the era of Will Ospreay that needs to be in there. It needs to be the Will Ospreay, Mark Andrews, Matt Sydal feud era.
yeah.
That's the Will Ospreay that needs to be in Ultimate
It
X.
could be Will Ospreay against Mark Andrews in that era of TNA.
Could do those three and put him in Ultimate X, and it would have been perfect.
Even like the Canadian Destroyer he took in this match was like, it's the best looking Canadian Destroyer of all time.
I loved it because it looked like a pile driver.
Yeah, a lot of like modern Canadian Destroyers, and even like a lot of the better ones PD does. A lot of guys do the thing where they might flip up to their feet, or they might do like an elaborate bump.
It feels like more of a momentum thing.
Yeah, whereas this was, he just stuck him with it. He just hit him with a flip pile driver, and it looked like he died. And I don't think there's ever been a better looking Canadian Destroyer, either done by PD or anybody else.
Yeah. It's a very good, very pretty move. And AJ dies on it, so it's great. But also, he dies on it, but it's also super safe.
Yeah, if you look very closely, his head comes fucking nowhere near that mat.
Yeah. He just he tilts perfectly on it.
He just sells it in a way, which is, that's how wrestling is supposed to work. I'm sorry to expose the business. But he sells it in a way that makes it look like he absolutely got killed, and it's probably one of the safer Canadian Destroyers you'd ever see in your life.
It's very exciting.
So D'Amore immediately tries to interfere in this match, but Mike Posey ejects him, and D'Amore throws a sensational tantrum. He's jumping up and down. They actually cut to it, a great shot where they're showing D'Amore throw the tantrum through the tunnel, so you just see him from behind, like jumping up and down, stomping, kicking the tunnel, throwing his jacket down the tunnel.
And you know what that is? That's pro wrestling instincts. Because there was no guarantee that the camera was on him in that moment.
Yeah.
But he was doing it because he's a fucking genius at pro wrestling.
And it's one of those things where, like, so often you might get a guy who gets caught, you know, he's walking through the tunnel and he doesn't realize, like, he's still on camera, where, like, D'Amore is walking through the tunnel and he's literally, like, kicking the edge of the tunnel, that he starts screaming at random people as he walks through the tunnel. The man is fully committed to his bit.
I wish he had a soul kicking the tunnel, though. That's my one note.
Oh, like, he hurt his foot?
Yeah, I wish he went like, ah!
Yeah. So that it's just a regular three-way match. PD ran at Sabin off AJ's shoulders while PD was hanging from Ultimate X. Cool move.
It's just stupid, insane bullshit. I love it.
The one spot that didn't quite come off is PD was dangling upside down from the Ultimate X, and AJ went for a springboard flying forearm from the apron to PD dangling from the Ultimate X. And I think PD in the moment realized, I can't take a bump like this, or I'll fall on my head and die.
Or I will scorpion myself as I hit the ring.
Yeah, so in the very, very last second, I think in order to try and sell the move without dying, PD pulled himself up a little so that AJ basically completely missed.
Yeah, I also think maybe it was just a bad camera angle that didn't help as well. Because I think it looked like, to me, I saw it as like he hit him in the face and knocked him back.
Yeah.
But I think the specific camera angle that they used in that moment, the hard cam, made it kind of look like he just glanced and we got him with it. So I think if it was a floor cam for that, it would have looked better.
Yeah, so then PD just falls down. Sabin hits a Super Frankensteiner while hanging from Ultimate X, which drew a great You've Got to Be Kidding Me from Don West, which might be added to the intro.
Well, it's either that one or the one in the tag match, because that's like the cleanest one I've ever heard.
AJ and Sabin did the springboard dropkick, which if you've never seen it, it's insane. It's not quite Skipper Cage Walk insane, but it's just one of those things. It's like, you're just a crazy man. You're a crazy, insane person who could have died.
Yeah, and somehow survived.
They incorporate psychology into this Ultimate X, Liam.
Who would have thunk it?
So AJ and PD are both climbing the truss, and PD grabs AJ's arm, pulls the arm through, and then AJ falls and dangles by the arm for a while. So the story is that AJ only has one arm, pulls Sabin off of Ultimate X with one arm, and then hits a one-arm Styles Clash, which is fucking badass.
I love Styles Clash variants. Like, that's one of my favorite things in wrestling. Like, it was him and Suzuki, where Suzuki had him in like the triangle, and he picked him up out of the triangle and hit the clash while he was still holding onto the arm. Which
is a lot like how he did it here, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but he was still in the armbar while he did it. It was some crazy stuff.
Yeah. So AJ hits that Styles Clash. He goes to climb, but his arm gives out on him. Then PD hits that Canadian Destroyer, which again looks insane. It's the best looking Canadian Destroyer of all time. Sabin and PD climb from either side. They unhook the belt. They're fighting over the belt because the rules are you unhook the belt. The person who gets down to the mat with the belt is the person who wins the belt in All X. Styles springboards in from the apron, knocks the belt out of Sabin and Petey's hands, and picks it up off the mat. AJ Styles wins the X Division title in Ultimate X. Great finish. Again, incorporates psychology in Ultimate X match where the dude couldn't climb, so he found a way to win without being able to climb. It's the best Ultimate X match. It's far, like, there's a bunch of insane shit. Can't stress how much the crowd are losing their mind at this match. They're going absolutely bonkers. Like, there's even a spot where Styles hits the reverse DDT while PD holds Sabin in a reverse DDT, so he reverse DDTs both of them. And the crowd, they've never seen a cooler move in their life. They're going absolutely insane.
This crowd had a real run of it, and you know, when Monty won in the main event, it was just the perfect cap off to that night for them.
Yeah, so Styles is your new X Division champion in what I do think still stands as the best Ultimate X match of all time. So if you look at the Final Resolution 2005 card and you wonder, where did that Skipper against Sanjay match come from? The answer is that's the match they put on when they cancelled the Miz and Hardy.
And it is surprisingly very, very good. I mean, maybe not surprisingly, but you kind of expect just like a match you'd see on Impact and they go out there and deliver a pay-per-view effort.
Yeah, you expect like the decent 3-star undercard matches you get with a lot of TNA undercard matches in these days, sometimes less than 3 stars. And they go out there and they kind of kill it. They go out there and just kind of rock the place. And like, fair if the crowd are absolutely insane. Like, we'll talk about the 3 Live Crew match in a minute, and it was the most I've ever enjoyed 3 Live Crew, I think, because this crowd are bonkers for everything. But yeah, Skipper and Sanjay just come out there and they just kick a bunch of ass, and it rules.
Of course. And it's good for Skipper too.
Yeah.
Skipper really needs like something. Daniels is always going to have like the charisma and he's going to get bigger opportunities at this point, but Skipper really needed a little fucking oomph to him.
And apparently coming out of the Triple X breakup, like they're like, we have plans for Daniels. Not really for Skipper.
I mean, you could kind of see it, but like Skipper took like 3 episodes of Impact before he started showing up again, and the first thing you saw after the pay-per-view was Daniels.
Yeah, the only thing Skipper really does on the TVs is we talked about the 6-man tag, and he also has a squash against David Young. So he's only on 2 episodes in very small doses, not building toward anything in particular. And here he just goes out there with Sanjay and they just have a great match. They just have a real great match. Like, I was 3 3/4 on this. It's like shockingly good when you look at the lineup and you're like, what are the good matches on this card? Again, as you said, you it's not that you don't expect it from Skipper, particularly Sanjay, but you kind of didn't. And they went out there and rocked it. So good job to them.
Yeah.